Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Very much appreciate you all making time to be here today. Once again, I know it's a little bit of a challenging time between Christmas and New Year's. Some of you are, I'm sure, working. Some of you may be at home today on vacation with your families, but want to thank you for taking a few minutes to join us. And this is a very, I think, timely discussion today that we're going to have. We're very, very grateful to have our Congressman John Molinar join us today. John has done a tremendous job for us in the years he served in Congress, and he's really been a champion for Shiawassee County, not only during that time, but certainly since the pandemic started through his leadership, particularly with some of the business programs that are out there. We were successful in getting almost 600 PPP loans in Shiawassee County, totaling over $60 million, and countless others for the EIDL program as well. So those tools were hugely critical for our small businesses in the area. So as all of you probably know, the recent legislation that was passed in Congress was signed by the president. And there are a few items in there that are very, very relevant to our business community. So I'm very thankful, despite the season and the busy schedule and everything going on, John has made time to be here today to give you an update on that legislation and what is relevant for our businesses in Shiawassee County. And then obviously, if anyone has any questions, you'll certainly be welcome to ask that. So I do have a couple of other items I'll cover after we talk with John, but really we want to focus on John and what's happening in Washington today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our great Congressman John Molinar. John, you'll want to hit *6 on your phone if you've not already. I think you were unmuted. Go ahead and try that again, John. There we go.
All right, I think I'm good.
You're good. Yep, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And yeah, thanks for being part of this today. And I do think the bill that the president signed does have some really good news in there for small businesses. And I appreciated hearing about all the the loans that were given in the previous round of the Paycheck Protection Program. This new bill provides $284.5 billion to reopen and strengthen the PPP for first-time and second-time borrowers. So as you can see, this will open it up for additional borrowing from our small businesses. To have a second round if the small business has less than 300 employees and can demonstrate a revenue reduction of 25%. The maximum loan amount for the second draw of PPP will be reduced to $2 million, but it also increases the PPP loan amount for businesses, accommodations, food service. It creates a simplified PPP loan forgiveness application for loans under $150,000. And I know that has been an issue and a concern. I think that's an improvement where the borrower would sign and submit a one-page certification that requires the borrower to list the loan amount, the number of employees retained, and the estimated total amount of the loan spent on payroll costs. Some of the other things, it expands the list of eligible expenses to include covered operations, software, cloud computing, other human resource, accounting needs, property damage costs due to public disturbances that occurred in 2020, not covered by insurance. And I think some of the additional eligibility for 501c6s is positive. It also updates some of the conflict of interest rules and prohibits publicly traded companies from the PPP. I know that was a concern that people had. It repeals the CARES Act provision that requires PPP borrowers to deduct their EIDL advance from their PPP loan forgiveness amounts. provides a process for borrowers to request an increased loan amount if regulations are updated, codifies faith-based organizations, churches to ensure that eligibility remains intact, and also creates a farmer and rancher calculation. So those are some of the updated information. There's $20 billion additional dollars to restart and extend the SBA's EIDL advance grant for small businesses and low-income communities. It increases verification tools at the SBA to ensure accurate information is submitted on a grant application, creates a process for existing EIDL advance grantees that receive less than $10,000 to reapply for the difference between what they receive and the maximum EIDL advance grant of $10,000. It also creates a $15 billion grant program for eligible venues, theaters, museums, zoos, called Grants for Shuttered Venues. It provides $3.5 billion to resume the principal and interest payments of new and existing small business loans guaranteed by the SBA. I guess that's where I'll probably leave it, unless you want, some of this is pretty far into the weeds, Justin, but the good news is I think that this is really going to help by, reopening the PPP. There were a number of other things in there in addition to the $280 billion for the PPP. It had money in there, $20 billion for the production of vaccines and therapeutics, $8.75 billion for distribution of vaccines, $3 billion for the national stockpile. It also had the stimulus checks. Now this is going to get a little bit, there's some legislation right now that went through the House last night that would increase the amount on a per person basis from $600, which is in the bill that was signed by the president, $600 stimulus checks per individual, $1,200 per married couple. But also the new legislation that went through the House may or may not go through the Senate, and that's still in flux. So I guess I wouldn't plan on that. But that was kind of a summary of what was in the bill that was signed into law. And I guess at this point, Justin, I'd be happy to open it up to any questions. I think Jason from my office is on the line as well. And if there are questions that I can't answer, Justin, maybe you can help tabulate a list, and then we'll research the answer to the questions and get back to you.
Sure, that's great. Thank you, John. That was a great summary. I will tell you, one of the things that I think is really timely and was causing maybe the most concern I heard from businesses was the tax issue related to PPP forgiveness. And it sounds like that has been fixed, correct?
Yes, it has. Yeah, and that was a battle. I know Secretary Mnuchin did not want to do that, but that was one where Congress worked very hard, and we advocated long and hard based on hearing from our small businesses about the importance of that. And so I think that was a real success in this legislation. Yeah,
big success. I probably talked to, I don't know, at least a dozen businesses over the last month. Obviously, many people operate on a calendar year basis. So thinking about their year-end financials, it was very topical for them. So I really want to thank you for getting that provision in there. And then obviously, the opportunity for a second bite at the apple. I mean, the reality is, we are in that sort of K-shaped recovery. There are businesses that have rebounded, but a lot of them are still struggling. Are not allowed to open, obviously, with some of our restaurants and things like that. So having that second bite at the apple for PPP is huge. So I just want to once again say thank you for all the provisions here. I think they're all going to be very helpful. I do want to open the floor. We have a pretty good turnout today. A lot of businesses on the call. Does anyone have any comments or questions for John? If you do, please hit *6 on your phone, please, to unmute yourself. *6. and ask your question. Anybody have any questions for John? Well, I'll jump in with one question. So, John, I think obviously this is all coming together pretty quickly. I would say, be in touch with your lender. Certainly, if you have anything to do with the PPP program, obviously, if there's any tax implications, be in touch with your CPA. The EIDL is actually a direct application, but I guess my question is this effective immediately? Do people need to jump on these things right away? Is there a time we have to wait for some of these programs to kick in?
I would apply and reach out to your lender right away. Okay. I know that now that this has been signed into law, the goal is going to be to get things out as quickly as possible, and we've really streamlined the process quite a bit. So hopefully, our financial institutions will be able to, turn things around. So I would say right away to reach out and start moving on the process. And just one last thing, Justin, I wanted, just because of the uniqueness of Shiawassee County and there in the area of transportation assistance, because I know this is a big focus. There's also $15 billion for passenger air carriers, $2 billion for airports, $2 billion for grants, loans to transportation service providers, including the motor coach, over-the-road bus industry, and private school bus operators. So that's something that I think is going to be relevant too, especially for Shiawassee County.
Thank you, John. I did not know that. As you know, we have Indian Trails, the best motor coach company in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Headquartered in Owasso. So that is something definitely we'll want to make them aware of if they're not already. The other question I had, looking at the list here, there is that dedicated fund you said for live venues, theaters, things of that nature. Obviously, as you know, we have NCG Cinemas headquartered in Owasso. We have our Performing Arts Theater. Do you know how that is going to be made available to those folks?
I that's one I'm going to have to research, because that is a new section. That's kind of unique to this legislation, and so that is probably going to require a little bit of extra research on my part and a setup process. But hopefully, this has been something that has been advocated for. So I don't think it'll be too different, but I'll have to get you the specifics on that. And that's something that we can do after the call.
That's all good. And once again, I want to say thank you, not only for what you're doing in Washington, but you've done a great job keeping us informed. I know you hosted a webinar a few weeks ago with our regional administrator, Rob Scott. I think there was a few Shiawassee County folks on that. We actually had Mr. Scott at the Armory here quite a few weeks ago, right before the election. We had a big turnout for that. So you've done a great job keeping our folks informed about the different tools. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to open the floor back up. Do you have any questions or comments for our Congressman John Molinar? If you do, please hit *6 on your phone, please. Anyone have anything? *6.
Justin, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Kellogg Dibzinski. I'm with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I think that you're doing a great job. I really appreciate all this. I think it's doing great for small businesses. I'm in the construction field, obviously, and this is one time we haven't been hit, but it has been very helpful to the people that have been, and I really appreciate that. My question kind of goes in a different direction. I have heard recently that that some of these larger corporations are getting loans and using them for like a low interest loan. And I was wondering if you knew anything about that. It was Omni Hotels is what I heard about, and they weren't helping out their people. They're not local, and this is a local thing. I get it, but I think that these funds could go to more local people if these larger corporations did not get them. Do you know anything about the, corporations getting unnecessary funds or using them as low interest loans, et cetera?
Yeah, well, one thing that we learned from the first round, in the CARES Act, when we started the Paycheck Protection Program, we were really kind of invented it on the fly. And it was something that Treasury was putting it together. And what we found is a lot of people applied and received loans that really shouldn't have under the overall design of the program. Many of those funds were paid back, but still not all. And so what we've done in this is really tried to tighten it down, updating the conflict of interest rules, prohibiting publicly traded companies from the PPP, and having a tighter process based on what we learned from that first round. So, my hope is not that, that would not be the case. We're really focusing on people, especially for this second round, for small businesses under 300 employees, and they have to demonstrate a revenue reduction of 25%. And so I think there are some safeguards in this that would prevent that from happening, but please let us know if you do hear or see situations that really are not appropriate for this.
Great. I appreciate your work, and it's good that learning on the past is the way we learn. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin?
Yeah, go. Oh, we got another question?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Kellogg.
Justin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, John Knickerbocker with PFDU Credit Union. Just a kind of a quick question, more for veterans organizations. My wife and I don't live in Shiawassee County. I live in Swartz Creek, so I'm 7 miles from you. But we belong to the American Legion here in Swartz Creek, and our club is a members-only club. We don't have a liquor license. We don't open it up to the public and things like that, but we still have utilities that have to be paid, water and sewer, garbage collection, all that kind of stuff is ongoing. But obviously our building is not open for hall rentals for weddings and receptions, things along those lines. Is there anything in the package for veterans organizations?
I'm not, I don't know that there is specifically. Interesting question. I wonder, the designation, the 501c status of a veterans organization. I don't know exactly where that would fall. I know this actually helps, the 501c6s, and some of the other ones were already covered in the PPP, but I don't know specifically what, the veterans organization statuses would be considered. Do you have any idea on that?
Well, I don't know what our status, I don't know if we're a 501c6 for, I know we're not a 3 because it's a nonprofit, but you say if there's stuff in there for C6s, let me go back to the folks that handle the books and that kind of stuff and see if we qualify under that status.
Yeah, feel free to have them reach out directly to my office too. But that's something, Justin, we can find out more and get that information back to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, I wonder, actually for both Johns, John Molinar and John Knickerbocker, I wonder if the EIDL grant, which I know you've replenished with this legislation as well, whether or not that might be a play for something like this.
That very well could be.
Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate that. We'll get people looking into that too. So it's the EIDL.
Yeah.
Yes.
For Economic Injury Disaster Loan advance program. It's through the SBA, and we've additional $20 billion in this package for that.
Well, very good. Yeah. Well, you give me some marching orders and stuff to work with, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, John Knickerbocker. And yeah, that the EIDL program, is, I guess, sort of been not quite as visible as PPP, but it has been hugely impactful for businesses. It is a direct application to the SBA. It's not through a bank, so you actually would have to apply online. And then, as John said, there's a grant portion of this. They basically front the grant money they call it an advance to help businesses out. And then you can actually get a loan with the grant, or I believe you can, even if you don't take the loan, you could still get the grant. So it's been a very, very useful program for a lot of folks. So if you've done PPP, but you've not looked at the EIDL program, particularly now with it being replenished, I would encourage all of our small businesses to. Okay. Other comments or questions for John, our congressman? Anyone have anything? If you do, hit *6 on your phone to unmute yourself, please. Anyone have anything?
Hey, Justin, this is John from AHP.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay. Well, I just want to make a comment on the EIDL. They did make some changes in the bills. I don't think I heard John cover it, but there's so much to cover. It had a play in with the PPP loan. So if you got an EIDL grant and you had a PPP loan, it would reduce the amount that was forgiven. That's no longer a provision now. You just get the grant, and I believe it's non-taxable now. So there's been some changes with that EIDL, and some requirements have changed a little bit as well too. So you might want to look into that. Whoever's applying for that, like some requirements include being located in a low-income community. So you have to prove you suffered economic loss. And I believe the EIDL is also based on the amount of employees you had. Well, I guess you get the loan anyways, but as far as the grant portion, I'm not sure how that plays out anymore. Like John had mentioned before, there's so much to go through. We're all still trying to learn this. But I just wanted to make a few comments on that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there is a lot here. And actually, thinking about it, and got a lot of Johns on the call today. John Molinar, I don't know if you mentioned, and John Goodman, who was just talking from HP, maybe I believe there may also be some provision in the legislation regarding an employee retention tax credit as well. I don't know if either of you could speak to that.
I cannot.
Okay.
But Jason, are you on the line? I don't know if Jason's on the line. Does he have to?
Yeah, he would want to, if he's on the line, he'll want to hit *6. And I don't know a lot about it myself either. I just heard a mention, and I know, John Goodman, you've talked about that particular item on previous call updates before. So once again, we're all trying to, get as much information as we can out to you as quickly as possible. So we may not have all the answers today, but anybody want to comment? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Justin. This is John again from AHP. The employer retention credit, it's been extended for wages paid through July 1st, 2021, rather than the end of January. So that was the change there. And then instead of it being 50% of qualified wages, it's 70% of qualified wages. So it's a little bit higher. You have to show your gross receipts have decreased by 80% rather than 50%. So, there are some changes, but probably don't have all the answers right now, but we're getting there.
Sounds to me like the answer is talk to your CPA, right, John?
I would say
there
so.
You go.
There we go. Okay, good questions, everybody. Does anyone have any other comments or questions for our Congressman John Molinar? If you do, hit *6 on your phone, please. Anybody have anything else for John?
And Justin, can you hear me okay? This is John again.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I am going to have to leave and go catch a flight out of DC.
Okay.
But Jason is on the line.
Okay.
And so is Ashton from my office. And Jason knows this bill inside and out as well. He was having some trouble unmuting. I don't know if he's going to be able to unmute now, but he can keep a list also of, so that we're in contact on any questions that we don't answer today, so we can get back to you with the answers and track that down. So
great.
I appreciate you having me, and it's great talking with you, and have a great new year.
Thank you, John. Always appreciate your time. Safe travels. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Okay. Jason, I don't know if you're on, or Ashton, if you're on. If you have any additional comments, probably the one thing I would say would be certainly if you do have any questions for the congressman, to be in touch with. Well, Ashton has always been my go-to. Many of you have worked with her. She's also doing a tremendous job representing the 4th Congressional District in Shiawassee County. We worked very well together over the years. So I would definitely refer any questions to her or Jason. Do either of you, if you're on, do you have any last comments for anybody? If you do, hit *6 if you're muted. Go ahead.
Hey, Justin, it's Ashton.
Hey, Ashton.
Thanks for putting the call together. I just wanted to offer, if you wanted to send our contact information around to the group, so if anyone has questions or thinks of something later, they can contact us directly and we can try and hunt down an answer. So I just wanted to offer that and put that out there.
Perfect. And
yeah,
that's perfect. And actually, we put your contact information, Ashton, in the weekly email that I send out to everybody. So your office number and your email are in that. So if you want to contact the congressman's office, if you want to talk to Ashton, just looked at the invitation to this call. It's down further in the body of the email. So Ashton, thank you. Thank you to John. Great work on this. Obviously, our biggest concern here in Shiawassee, we want to make sure we get these programs and tools, the information on them into the hands of our small businesses. And there's a lot of good stuff for our companies here. So thank you for your leadership and John's leadership on this. And for everybody, we will also stay in communication with Congressman Molinar's office. And as we get more information on these federal programs, we will absolutely share it. The other thing, moving away from federal real quick, the other thing I wanted to share, we are awaiting guidance on the state programs. So we touched on this last week. The legislature did pass some pretty substantial stimulus, not as much as Washington did, but I think it was somewhere between $400 and $500 million for the state of Michigan, of which there was a very large chunk of money for small businesses. Another grant round. I believe it is $20,000 per business. I think if you were completely shuttered, and it's a lesser amount if you were partially in operation. So we're trying to get more guidance on what that all means. I don't believe the governor has signed it yet, so that may be why things are held up a little bit. But as soon as we have more information, we will let you know. I can tell you, some of you I know on the call went through the last process where you had to get online at 9 a.m. This was a few weeks ago, and it was, well, I'll just say it was a difficult process. There were 22,000 applicants statewide for that grant program, and they're probably only going to be able to fund somewhere between probably 500 and 600. So sadly, a lot of our small businesses that spent a lot of time on that, probably won't get funding, but there is another round coming. And one of the things that I'm excited about is, you probably all know, the first couple of rounds of grant funding, we, SEDP, had a role in administering those dollars. They put some control in the local hand. We did not get this with the last round. It was done at a statewide level. This new round of funding, we are expecting to have more administrative control on that. And I've heard, and this is anecdotal at this point, that it's supposed to get out the dollars by the end of January. So I would think for another round of state grant funding, you're going to see something hopefully very, very soon. And you'll definitely once again hear it from us if we have any updates. And so that's the federal update. That's the state update. I don't have much more. Maybe the one thing I might add, he's talked about it the last couple of weeks here on the call. Greg Klapko, are you on the phone today? If you are, hit *6 on the phone, please. I don't know if Greg is on today, but I do want to mention.
Yeah, I am, Justin. I'm here today. Yes.
Good, great. Hey, I want to keep plugging Shiawassee. We talked about it the last couple of weeks. You guys at the chamber are doing a wonderful job at that program, and we talked yesterday at the Armory. Even though the holidays, Christmas is over. We want to continue utilizing Shiawassee to get people to spend money locally. So do you want to give another update to the group on Shiawassee?
Sure. As I mentioned, I think last time, the matching money from Consumers Energy, which was a total of $15,000, has been exhausted, which is excellent. 'Cause that's $30,000 into the local community, but we really want to keep the momentum going into the new year. This is vital to keep it going, keep those dollars going to the small businesses. We've got 40 merchants now signed up for Shiawassee, so they do not have to be a chamber member. So merchants can join. Again, not having to be a member. We obviously love them to be a member of the chamber, but they don't have to be to participate in this program. So if you know of merchants that would like to join, simply have them go to our website, ShiawasseeChamber.org, and they can get all the information on Shiawassee and hopefully become a merchant. And of course, I strongly encourage those employers out there that would like to maybe purchase, whether they want to use them as gift cards for employees or, again, just support these local merchants. It's a great way to do it. We'd like to keep the momentum going into 2021.
Great. Thank you, Greg. And there are a lot of great merchants on there, and, highly encourage. And for those of you who follow me on social media, I've been really pushing, take out local from restaurants, shop local. This is a great way to support a bunch of local businesses. And one thing I'm excited about for the employers on the call, consider using Shiawassee as a thank you to your employees, for the great work that they're doing during this difficult time. And this would give them an opportunity to spend those dollars in local restaurants, retail, things like that. So I really like this idea of businesses using it as a sort of an employee bonus. So definitely contact Greg. Actually, Greg, what's the best way for people that want to get involved and learn more about Shiawassee? What's the best way for them to learn about it?
Best way is just go right to our website, ShiawasseeChamber.org, or feel free, obviously, to reach out to me or Sue here at the chamber. Sue will be back on January 4th. I'm in the office today, so feel free to reach out to us here, in the new year if you have any questions. But actually, the website is the best way to get started, and it has all the information for you.
Okay, very good. I think that's it for today. We obviously covered a lot of ground. Once again, thank you all for taking time to be here on the holiday. But obviously, some of this stuff is very, very time sensitive, and hopefully it was very informational for you. As always, feel free to reach out if you have any updates or questions on any of this or anything else. I do believe next week we will be having representatives from our Senate offices, Peters and Stabenow. I don't know exactly who's going to be on yet, but we'll be able to hear from our senators as well, who will also be able to give an update on the federal legislation and offer their input. So stay tuned for that. But For now, I want to thank you all for making time today, and hope you have a good rest of your day and holiday week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.